So there's an article that I found about linguistic development of Genie on dbpedia.org. So, and when the circumstances of Genie, the primary victim, and one of the most severe cases of abuse, neglect, and social isolation on record in medical literature, first became known in November 9, early November 1970. Authorities arranged for her admission to Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, where doctors determined that at the age of 13 years and 7 months old, she had not acquired a first language. Hospital staff then began teaching Jeannie to speak general or standard American English, and she gradually began to learn and use language. The first effort soon caught the attention of linguistics, who saw her as an important way to gain further insight into acquisition of language skills and linguistic development. Starting in May 1971, University of California, Los Angeles professor Victoria Fromkin headed a team of linguistics who began a detailed case study on, and like a whole paragraph. So, when the circumstances of Jenny, the primary victim in one of the most severe cases of abuse, neglect, and social isolation, on record in medical literature, first became known in early November 1970. Authorities arranged for her admission to Children's Hospital Los Angeles, where doctors determined that at the age of 13 and 7 months, she had not acquired a first language. Hospital staff then began teaching Jeannie how to speak general American English, and she gradually began to learn and use language. Their efforts soon caught on the attention of linguistics, who saw her as an important way to gain further insight into acquisition of language skills and insight linguistic development. Starting in late May 1971, UCLA Professor Victoria Fromkin headed a team of linguistics who began a detailed case study on Genie. One of Fromkin graduate students, Susan Curtis, became especially involved testing and recording Genie's linguistic and development. Linguists' observations of Genie began that month. In October of that year, they began actively testing what principles of language she had acquired and was acquiring. Their students enabled them to push several academic works examining theories and hypotheses regarding the proposed critical period during which humans learn to understand and use language. On broader levels, Genie followed some normal patterns of young children acquiring a first language, but researchers noted many marked differences with her linguistic development. The size of her vocabulary and the speech with which she explained it consistently outstripped anticipations, and many of the earliest words she learned and used were very different from typical first language learners and strongly indicated that she possessed highly developed cognitive abilities. By contrast, she had far more difficulty acquiring and utilizing grammar. She had mastered some basic aspects of grammar and understood significantly more than she used in her own speech, but her rate of grammar acquisition was much slower than normal. As a result, her vocabulary was consistently much more advanced and sophisticated than more people in equivalent phases of grammar acquisition. Researchers attributed some of her abnormal expressive language to physical difficulties she faced with speech production, and worked very hard to improve her ability to speak. Within months of being discovered, Genie developed exceptional nonverbal communication skills and became capable of utilizing several methods of nonverbal communication to compensate for her lack of language. So researchers decided to also teach her a form of sign language. By the time the scientists finished working with Genie, she had not fully mastered English grammar and her rate of acquisition had significantly slowed down. Linguistics ultimately concluded that because Genie had not learned a first language before the critical period had ended, she was unable to fully acquire a language. Furthermore, despite the clear improvements in her conversational competence, it remained very low, and her vocalization remained highly atypical. While she had expanded her use of language to serve a wider range of functions, she had an unusually difficult time utilizing it during social interactions. Tests on Jeannie's brain found she was acquiring language in the right hemisphere of her brain, despite being right-handed. Giving rise to many new hypotheses and refining existing hypotheses on cerebral lateralization and its effects on linguistic development. Testing Jeannie's language occurred until the end of 1977, but in mid 1975, when she was 18 years old, authorities placed her in a foster care setting, which subjected her to extreme physical and emotional abuse, causing her to become afraid to speak and to rapidly begin losing her newly acquired language skills. After removing from this location in April 1977, she moved through several more placements, some of which were highly abusive, causing further aggression of her language skills. In early January 1978, Jeannie's mother suddenly decided to prevent any further testing and scientific observations of Jeannie. The very little availability information on her ability to communicate since that time is exclusively from personal observations or secondary accounts of them. Nonetheless, linguists have continued analyzing Jeannie's language long after this time. Since the case on Genie ended, there has been some controversy and debate among linguists about how much grammar she had acquired and for how long she had been learning new aspects of language.